Alright, what we're doing here is I am test fitting all of my water pump bolts onto the timing cover. So I've just kind of got this loosely assembled. So that way I can make sure that I know where these bolts are going and that hopefully none of them will be sticking out too far when I try to assemble this, because there are certain brackets that go under some of these bolts. There might be a bracket that goes underneath this one over here, which you cannot see, I'm sorry, this one here. So I'm going to leave that spacer on there. I got these bolts from AMK products. So these are supposed to be all the original type bolts to fasten down this pump. Mine does have power steering, but it says washer not used with power steering, but I'm going to leave it on the pump for now until I start putting it back together completely. And then I will get rid of it at that point if I do. These are placed underneath a C bracket, one washer with power steering, or two washers without power steering. And I will probably do the same thing there, because I think this bolt is going to be too long. This one right here, sorry. So I'm going to go ahead and leave those two washers on there, and I think I'm going to throw a couple extra washers just to take up some slack, because that one I think is going to be too long, because I believe there is a bracket that bolts underneath that one as well, which is probably one of the AC brackets, the dog leg, which adjusts the belt tension on it. So all these other ones look good. They all fit down, they all go through about the same length, so that should be good. I kind of know where my orientation is for all of those bolts now. I will start getting the gasket ready for this, and then I will flip back in here and we'll stick this thing obviously on upside down on the block to start with. I'll put the harmonic balancer on, so that way that'll help center the timing cover, because if you put the harmonic balancer on with these bolts in here loosely, that should keep that centered. And then I can also check that with the bottom flange of the block to verify that. So give me a minute here to reset this all back up, and I'll start putting the timing cover on. Okay, I think what we have decided, I am going to put silicone around these water ports, and I'll do that on both sides, the side that hits the block and the side that hits this cover. Now I will tell you, this is probably the worst gasket I've seen in this whole set so far. You get this side to line up, and this side doesn't very well, and when you do, it wants to buckle up here. I think that'll be fine, and that is the reason why I chose to go ahead and put sealer on here, is that way if this gasket is a little funky, I'm pretty sure the sealer will seal it and we won't have any problems. It was probably just the way it was in the packaging, so I don't think it'll be a big deal. Looks like we hopefully should be able to get it all in there. It might be a little long at the bottoms, but we'll trim that up after we kind of get it in place, and we'll just go ahead and move on from there. So I'm going to grab our RTV, get a little bit here. And the other reason why I chose to put RTV around the water ports is the casting is a little rough. Not horribly, believe me, I've seen a lot worse. But if there is any slight imperfections, this will fill it in, and then hopefully we won't have any issues with it leaking, at least around that part. And since that bolt's kind of close to it, we'll just go up and around. It's just a nice thin coat. We don't need a whole bunch. We'll go around the other side the exact same way. Go up a little high. right. There we go. That should be good. Let that tack for just a second while we address the rest of the gasket. And for that, I am just going to do Permatex High Tack in a spray. I've used the brush stuff. Hopefully this will last me longer, because the brush cans, once you crack them open, it seems like they dry up very fast. So I already shook this a little bit, and we're just going to hit kind of the spots we don't really need to hit around there, but there we go. And we will, I guess I did say let it tack for a minute or two. So let me do that. Then we'll flip it over. And, well, I guess I need to spray the other side too. So, yeah, let's just do that real quick. Surely it won't stick to the box. That's already starting to feel tacky, so let's just throw it on here real quick. And make sure I throw it on the right way. Silicone will help hold it in place up here. Hopefully, this stuff will help it hold in place lower. Hopefully I don't have to fight too much on the rest of this, keeping it in place. Okay. Now, go ahead and finish putting a little more of our silicone around this side, same as the other. Just a very nice thin coat. Just enough that way it doesn't end up in the water ports, because that wouldn't be any good. All right, I think that is ready. To get ready to stick this on the block here, so I will reposition the camera and then we will get ready for the second part. Okay, upside down. adjust my gaskets. And let's grab a bolt. Grab another bolt. Don't want it super tight. Just want to make sure everything's looking in place. Which kind of is a little bit off. Okay, there's those two. One more short one over here. Another long one right there. And we got two short ones that go up and underneath into the block. And another one right here. For the most part, that's looking pretty good. It look like my gaskets are off very much. It's pretty much lined up. This one over here is looking pretty good. Just a smidge more wiggle. Not got it too tight where I can't adjust it a little bit if I need to. And if I'm not sure, I can use one of my bolts. Make sure the gasket's exactly where it needs to be. That's good. That looks good. Okay. Now we will start working on getting the gaskets for the water pump set up so that we can flip this thing over and get the water pump on, but I'm going to trim these real quick and make sure that looks level. And I can feel that it's just a little low. Definitely just a little low. Whoops. And same thing with this side, it's just a smidge low. That side didn't look like it changed, that's good. See no light gap, and I don't see any light gap on that one. There, I think we are level. We're snug, that's good. Now, what did I do? Where's my socket? That one, that one, that one, that one, and then, cool, looking good in the neighborhood. It's pretty dang level. And I got the two underneath. Right. And they say 12 to 15 feet-pounds. I probably already snugged those up more than that. Oh. Didn't on that one. That one's good. I know I didn't put my harmonic balancer on, but I got to thinking about if that is centered, it should be centered flush with the mating surface. I would assume that's more critical than that. I could be wrong, but let's just roll with this, because if I had this in here and it was pushing this up and this surface wasn't flat, I would see more of a problem with it leaking than just making sure the cover is flush on the mating surface. Because all the other holes look like they line up. So no, I did not end up putting the harmonic balancer on, but that's totally fine. I don't think that's going to mess with anything. We'll run with this. This is flush. Those gaskets are cut. I think we're good. Now, as for the bolts underneath, there's really not much I can do because they are behind this flange. And since they are behind this flange, I cannot get a torque wrench on them. And unfortunately, I think a crow's foot is not going to reach them either. Pretty sure that it is not. Yeah, that is totally Not going to happen. So I do not have a correct way to torque those upper ones. So we just have to hope that I can torque them by hand equal to the amount that I torqued these other ones. And I think we're okay. I think we'll roll with that. I think that's good. Should have plenty of clamping force. That should be okay. Let's just run the water pump down on here, because I'm not sure. I don't know if I want that water pump on yet or not. I think we actually just want to go ahead and put the oil pan on. I think that's what we would rather do at this point. Let me cut you out here. Let me think about it. I may just go ahead and leave the water pump off. I'm not sure. I haven't made up my mind yet. Be back here in a jiff. Okay, I think what I've decided to do here, I am going to put the water pump on, but it's not going to be permanent. I'm just going to go ahead and put the gaskets on the separator plate and the pump just to aid in clamping force, to make sure that it seals well between these ports. I don't think I'm not going to cinch it down real hard, but I'm going to cinch it down snug, just to make sure that it puts enough pressure on here to seal the gasket all the way around, but not enough to where I think if I took it off, it's going to break that seal and cause a leak. So we'll go ahead and we'll sneak that pump on there real quick with the backing plate, kind of like I had it set up before. That seems like the right thing to do. That way, perfect. That long bolt on the outside of that one, and on the outside of that one. Those will be our first two to help hold everything in place here. Go. Next two, this one, and this one. Okay, what is next? Got one really long bolt over here. And a double washer bolt over here that I hope is not going to be too long. Yeah, that is going to be too long. We're going to have to throw a couple extra spacers in there, I think. See if I got a couple of stacks of washers I can throw in there to make sure that cinches down. Alright. Like I said, oh wow, that was a lot more. Let's try something different here. Well, let's take one more out. Wow, three of those about as thick as that giant thick washer they got on there. Maybe we should just try two. Yeah, I think that'll be That's enough. Okay, that's enough to get her clamped down. Okay. Okay, that should work. Basically, we're just tossing that in there to make sure it's got a little bit of clamping force, not a ton. Just a little snug, little snug, little snug. Those are just holding the water pump onto the main plate. So that should work. That's clamping over those two water ports right there. That'll make sure that seals and sets. Same thing over here on this side. Those two bolts there are clamping over that water port, so that should seal. So with that, we should be able to flip it back upside down and continue getting things ready for the oil pan. So that'll be the next move, and everything looks like it's coming together quite well. So hook aboard like an engine every time we add a piece to it. So we'll get back with you next time when we get set up to, yeah, brake is a little squeaky. It's probably going to squeal like a mother. But, yeah, we'll get you flipped upside down here, and we'll start working on getting things prepped for the oil pan. Gasket, oil pump, the oil pump drive rod that connects to the bottom of the distributor. And we'll move on from there. Appreciate it much.